My name's Victoria Kasprowicz. I'm originally from London, England, but I've been living in South Africa now for 17 years. I trained as a scientist originally. I have a PhD in immunology, and I'm currently working as head of programs for SANTHE. SANTHE stands for the Sub-Saharan African Network for TB/HIV Research Excellence. It started in 2015. It's funded primarily by Wellcome via the Science for Africa Foundation, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Gilead, and also AIDS funds and the Reagan Institute. So we have a number of funders now, but they all support our big vision, which is around four main aims. The first is scientific excellence in the area of HIV and TB. The second is the concept of leadership development. How do we support and train emerging leaders that work in science in Africa? The third area is this idea of strengthening research ecosystems. So how can we really make supportive environments where scientists in Africa work? And the fourth area, which is by no means least, the idea of making sure that any research that we generate has been influenced by the community and is shared with the community, ensuring that it has the maximum impact. So those are the four main areas that we work in, but there's three emphasis points that I'd like to make is the idea that this is an African-led consortium supporting the idea of a sustainable network of scientists, and the third, that we are creating impactful science. And I think the most important thing is the idea of the sustainable nature of the program, because sustainability for us means that we're creating research leaders who have their own groups, who are able to bring in their own research grants and then train their own PhD and master students. And without that, we will not be sustainable. SANTHE currently has a presence in 8 African countries: South Africa, Cameroon, Rwanda, Zambia, Botswana, Uganda, Zimbabwe, and Kenya. We're currently thinking about expanding beyond though, because we realise that now that we've received a number of investments, we really want to ensure maximum impact. And I think the most important thing to think about in our model is that while we still are very grateful for all the support and partnerships that we have across the globe, we really are trying to move towards working together on the continent. So instead of necessarily always having a US and South Africa partner, the idea that we can work with South Africa and the Cameroonians, or the Cameroonians and the Ugandans, and learning to share in the areas that we have strengths and weaknesses, because we all have different strengths and weaknesses at our different sites. And the idea is that we're working together to advance the science optimally and to answer questions that we can't answer in isolation. Some questions can be optimally answered together. One key challenge that we have as a consortium is this around the idea of sustainability. We've been very grateful and we're lucky with the funds that we've received from major funders. However, we often receive funds in like 3 to 5 year funding cycles, and that's very difficult when you're trying to work towards longer term goals. And it does bring stress because you don't necessarily always know if you're going to have funding to go forward, and we're always operating at a level where it's not ideal, because we have big ideas, big visions, and with more money we could do more. So I think this idea of how do we bring in sustainable funds to support our work is a continual problem, thinking about all the time about how we can think about doing that differently, whether that's approaching different funders or whether that's looking at completely new models and targeting philanthropists or others who may wish to play a role and act as a stakeholder in this environment. I think what's been so fantastic to see over the last 10 years with SANTHE is how many emerging leaders have come out of SANTHE, and these are people who really are achieving great things scientifically, but are also bringing in their own grants. They're getting recognition at a national and international level. They're getting invited to major meetings, and to me that's been the highlight of everything that we've done. And to see that continue and grow and expand from 25 to 50 to 100 is what we really need to focus our funds towards doing. We've shown great success so far within SANTHE, and I think what's great about it hasn't been located at one specific site. Across all our sites we've seen emerging leaders develop and take on major leadership roles, and I think that's something that I think has been very encouraging and rewarding to see. And also they're now independent, or some of them may not be completely at that stage, but they're working towards it. And I think showing how we've leveraged the investments that we've got and supporting that idea of a sustainable future has been exceptionally rewarding. So I feel exceptionally blessed and privileged to work as part of SANTHE, I think, and I would say this, at the front of that my mind comes the fact that it's wonderful people kind-hearted people, clever people, people who are willing to give, willing to collaborate, work together, share their ideas. And I think it's such a wonderful environment to be part of, and I think that's part of SANTHE's success. People can see that we're nice people, that people have benefited from being part of it. It's not what can I take out of it, it's what can I give. And even people who've managed to take from it have given. And so to me, that's part of the fantastic thing that makes SANTHE such a fantastic thing to be part of. And I hope it will continue many years into the future.